Have you ever wondered why the harder you chase a woman, the further away she seems to get? Why the more you text her, the more you try to please her, the less she seems to value you? The truth is, you've been playing the wrong game from the start. Women aren't attracted to men who desperately chase them. They're drawn to men who have self-control, men who live by their values, men who make them curious and hungry to step into his world. And in this video, I'm going to reveal 12 Stoic Secrets, timeless principles from Stoic philosophy that flip the script, no longer the hunter, but the one who gets pursued. I want you to imagine this tomorrow. You're no longer the guy waiting by the phone, no longer the one feeling anxious when she doesn't reply. Instead, she's the one wondering what you're thinking, what you're doing. How different would the game feel then? Stick with me until the end of this video, because these secrets can change the way you see love and change the way you live. Secret number 1, keep the mystery. Here's the thing. One of the biggest mistakes men make in dating is oversharing way too soon. On the very first date, they spill their entire life story, from eating habits, past heartbreaks, to unfinished goals at work. They think radical honesty will create instant closeness, but in reality, it kills curiosity. And curiosity is the fire that fuels attraction. I once watched a friend of mine, smart guy, kind-hearted, but on his first date, he laid it all out why his last relationship ended, his messy family drama, even the projects he hadn't finished yet. He thought, if I show her my true self, she'll trust me more. But after that night, she never called back. Why? Because he left nothing for her to discover. Human beings, especially women, are drawn to mystery. Think about when you watch a detective movie. It's not knowing who the culprit is that keeps you glued to every detail. Relationships work the same way. When you keep a part of yourself private, when you leave a piece of the story untold, you give her a reason to come back, to want to know more. Now, keeping mystery doesn't mean shutting down emotionally or never sharing anything. It means being intentional. A Stoic man understands all valuable things take time to unfold. Just like a great book, if you flip straight to the last page, there's no excitement left in the journey. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you overshared with someone too soon? And did you notice how their interest started to fade after that? If so, that's your sign to hold back just a little, to let the mystery breathe. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The deepest truths need silence to reveal themselves." A strong man doesn't dump everything out hoping for validation. He lets others slowly discover his depth. When a woman has to piece you together bit by bit, the bond that forms is far more lasting. I always tell my students, when you meet a woman, share enough to connect, but don't rush to unload everything. You can talk about your passions, but you don't need to map out your 10-year plan. Mention a memorable trip, but leave out some details so she'll want to ask. In that space of curiosity, attraction grows. Now, some of you might ask, but isn't honesty and openness the foundation of trust? Absolutely. But honesty doesn't mean telling everything at once. You can be truthful while still keeping a little mystery. For example, instead of dumping all your work struggles, you might say, "I'm working on a pretty exciting project right now. Once it's done, I'll share more with you." That's honest, but also intriguing. Remember this: mystery is a soft power. It's like a fragrance. You don't see the whole thing, but you want to lean closer. A Stoic man never tries to prove his worth by talking too much. He lets his actions, his silence, his presence do the talking. If you're dating, I want you to try this little experiment next time she asks, "So what do you usually do on weekends?" Instead of rattling off your entire schedule, smile and say, "I usually spend some time on personal projects. I'll tell you more next time. Trust me." That doesn't make you less attractive. It makes her lean in. A Stoic man knows keeping mystery is keeping power, because when you don't rush to reveal everything, you're showing that you're comfortable with yourself. You don't need instant approval, and that's the ultimate sign of value. Think about it. What's more enticing? Treasure lying out in the open for anyone to grab, or treasure buried deep, something you have to invest effort to uncover in love? You are that treasure, and your mystery is the very thing that makes people want to dig deeper. So, let me leave you with this. If tomorrow you meet a new woman, how much of yourself would you reveal? 50%, 70%, or just 30%? Enough to spark curiosity, but saving the essence for later. Try it. You'll be surprised to see how it's the unfinished puzzle that makes people come back. Mystery isn't some dating trick. It's an art of living, the art of knowing that true value doesn't need to be rushed or flaunted. And once you master this art, you'll notice it's not just women, but the whole world. That becomes curious to step into your story. Secret number 2, live true to your values. Have you ever noticed how often we compromise ourselves just to please someone else? Especially in love. A man might be training consistently at the gym, but once he gets a girlfriend, he starts skipping workouts just to spend more time with her. At first, it seems romantic, but slowly, he stops being the man he once was. She fell for the guy with discipline, with passion, but now all that's left is a watered-down version of him, someone who gives up his goals just to keep her happy. And guess what? The attraction fades. The Stoics believe that personal values are the foundation of a life worth living. A house can look beautiful, but if the foundation is weak, it will eventually collapse. In relationships, your values are your foundation. If you give them up just to be accepted, you're pulling bricks out from under your own house. I remember one of my students, a young, ambitious engineer, once told me he was ready to give up a scholarship in Europe because his girlfriend didn't want him to leave. I asked him, if she truly loves you, wouldn't she want to see you grow? He went silent. A few years later, they broke up, not because he left, but because he stayed. He stayed, but lost the fire in his eyes. She realized he was no longer the man who lived for his dreams. Here's the paradox most men don't see when you abandon your values to hold on to a relationship. That relationship dies anyway. A woman might feel flattered for a moment by your sacrifice, but deep down, she won't respect a man who so easily gives up on himself. What they truly crave is a man who stands firm, principled, purposeful, someone they can admire. Ask yourself, what are the 5 values you'll never compromise? Maybe it's health, integrity, ambition, growth, or family. Write them down, because if you don't define them clearly, someone else, intentionally or not, will define them for you. The Stoics often talked about living in accordance with nature, which means living true to your essence, guided by reason. Epictetus said, "Don't trade what's truly yours for what you cannot control, and what's truly yours are your values, your principles." Let me give you a simple example. I once met an Italian man who was obsessed with photography. When he fell in love, he didn't drop his camera just to spend every waking hour with his girlfriend. He still kept his schedule, his photo shoots, his creative trips. At first, she complained, "Do you love your work more than me?" But eventually, she was drawn to that very consistency. She realized she couldn't control him, and that made her respect and desire him even more. See, it's your loyalty to your values that creates lasting attraction. When you live true to them, you don't just stay attractive to women, you become a source of strength to everyone around you. People look at you and think, that's a man I can trust. That's a man who won't crumble under pressure. So imagine this. Tomorrow you meet a woman who truly excites you, but she asks you to give up your dream job just to spend more time with her. How would you respond? Would you nod in fear of losing her, or would you smile and say, I love you, but I also love the values that make me who I am? If you truly love me, you'll respect that. Which answer makes you the stronger man? The Stoics remind us living by your values isn't about fighting others. It's about standing firm within yourself. And when you stand firm, you give a woman something solid to lean on. They don't want a man who bends to every pressure. They want a pillar, a compass. And let me be honest, it's not easy. Living true to your values means you will face criticism, misunderstanding, maybe even rejection. But in those moments, you're filtering out relationships that were never meant to last. Because any woman who leaves when you stay true to yourself was never the right partner in the first place. So I'll leave you with this question. Would you rather be the man women respect for his firmness, or the man women pity for his weakness? The answer lies in whether you dare to live by your values, even when it costs you. When you do, you'll discover something powerful. You don't need to chase anyone, because it's your strength, your integrity that makes women, and the world itself, come chasing after you. Secret number 3, stop seeking validation. Have you ever been stuck in this loop? You send her a text, and then you just stare at your phone, waiting. Every minute feels like an hour. When a notification pops up, your heart races only to crash when it's not from her. Or maybe you post a picture on Instagram, and suddenly your whole mood hangs on whether she leaves a like, a tiny little heart. Sound familiar? I've been there too. And the truth is, so many men live their entire lives as if their self-worth depends on someone else's reaction. But Stoic philosophy makes one thing very clear. Your value never comes from external validation. It comes from how you see yourself. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "What others think of me is beyond my control." Think about that. If your whole life revolves around waiting for likes, replies, or compliments, you've already handed your emotions over to someone else. You're no longer in control. I once coached a young man who told me that whenever his girlfriend didn't reply for a few hours, he'd panic. He'd send message after message, even accusing her of ignoring him. He thought showing more worry would prove his love. But the opposite happened. She pulled away and eventually left. Why? Because no one wants to carry the weight of being someone else's entire source of confidence. A Stoic man behaves differently. He sends a message and then goes on with his life. He posts a picture and then forgets about it. He doesn't tie his worth to views, likes, or instant replies. He knows the only thing truly under his control is his own actions and his own attitude. Ask yourself, are you waiting for someone else to tell you you're enough? Or can you look in the mirror each morning, take a deep breath, and say to yourself, I am enough? If you've never tried this, start today. Because once you learn to validate yourself, you'll stop anxiously waiting for others to do it for you. Here's the paradox when you stop seeking validation from women. They actually start seeking validation from you. Why? Because the energy of a man who is confident, who already knows his value, has a natural pull. Women feel that independence, and it makes them want to be part of your world. I'll share something personal. Years ago, I used to measure my worth by feedback, by how many likes my posts got, by how many compliments I received after a talk. But when I discovered Stoicism, I shifted my mindset. I ask myself, if no one claps today, if no one praises me, does my value disappear? The answer was no, because my true worth comes from effort, from living aligned with my principles, not from the opinions of others. And here's the funny thing, when I stopped chasing validation, I actually received more of it. But this time, it wasn't something I needed to survive. It was just a bonus, never the foundation of who I am. If you're a man dating right now, remember this. Women respect you more when you don't need them to feel valuable. They don't want the burden of proving you're good enough. They want to be drawn to a man who already knows his worth. Picture this. You're in a conversation. Instead of fishing for approval, asking, "Do you think I look good in this?" or "Do you find me interesting?" you simply smile, relaxed, and speak from a place of knowing you don't need permission to exist. That kind of energy is far more attractive than any forced compliment. A stoic man doesn't need the spotlight to shine. He carries the light within, and so do you. If you learn to stop seeking validation, you'll feel a freedom you may not have experienced in years. Freedom from the phone, freedom from the anxious wait, freedom from depending on someone else's nod to feel worthy. So let me end this part with a question. Put your hand on your chest and ask, am I living by my own values? Am I giving myself validation before expecting it from others? If the answer is no, then today is the day to begin. Because once you stop chasing validation, you'll realize this. You're not just more attractive to women, you're more attractive to life itself. You'll walk lighter, you'll stand taller, and most importantly, you'll finally be free. Secret number 4, trust in your own abilities. Have you ever met a man who walks into a room and, without saying much, you can just feel his confidence? He doesn't brag, he's not loud, but the way he stands, the way he looks at people, even the way he breathes makes you think, this is a man who knows his worth. That's not an accident. That's the result of trusting in his own abilities. One of the core Stoic principles is this: you can't control the world, but you can always control your attitude and your effort. And from that effort, belief is born. You don't need someone to pat you on the back and say, "Good job," to believe in yourself. You only need to look at your own actions, day by day, and see the proof. I remember coaching a group of young men once. There was one guy, quiet, reserved, barely spoke. But when it came time for discussion, he stood up. He spoke slowly, clearly, his eyes steady. His words weren't fancy, but the whole room listened. Afterwards, he told me, "I never thought I was good enough, but today I realized just standing up and speaking made me stronger than I thought." Confidence doesn't always come from big achievements. It starts in those moments when you face even the smallest fears. The problem is, too many men underestimate themselves. They doubt their worth, thinking, "I'm not successful enough, not rich enough, not good-looking enough." And that lack of belief seeps into everything: how they talk, how they date, how they carry themselves. Women sense it instantly. They may not say it out loud, but they feel the hesitation, the insecurity, and nothing kills attraction faster. On the flip side, a man who trusts himself doesn't need to act arrogant. He could be an office worker, a teacher, a guy just starting a business, but he knows that wherever he is right now, he has unique value and he has abilities that can grow. That belief changes the way he walks, the way he speaks, the way he acts. The Stoics would say, don't compare yourself to others. Compare yourself today to who you were yesterday. That's how real confidence is built. You don't need to be the best in the world. You just need to keep improving. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, finishing a workout, completing a project, learning a new skill, you're sending yourself a powerful message. I can be trusted. I am capable. Let me share a story. A friend of mine used to be very shy about dating. He'd often ask me, how do I get women to notice me? I didn't give him tricks or pickup lines. I told him, pick one thing you think you can't do and do it. He chose to run a marathon. The day he crossed that finish line, drenched in sweat, there was a new light in his eyes. He didn't need me or anyone else to tell him he was attractive. He had proved it to himself. And you know what? From that day on, Women treated him differently, not because they knew he'd run a marathon, but because he radiated a new kind of confidence. So I want you to pause and ask yourself, how many times have you held yourself back? How many opportunities have you missed because you told yourself, I'm not enough? Be honest with yourself. And then remember, this confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you train, one action at a time. If you doubt yourself today, start small. Write down 3 things you did well this week. Don't dismiss the small stuff. Maybe you listened patiently when someone needed it. Maybe you got up earlier to exercise. Or maybe you stayed calm in a stressful situation. Those are all bricks evidence that you're building belief in yourself. Trusting in your own abilities doesn't mean you'll always be right or always succeed. It means you trust that you'll get back up when you fall. And women are incredibly drawn to that kind of man. They don't need perfection. They want a man who believes in himself enough to never quit. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "A man's true strength lies in mastering himself." When you trust yourself, you stop worrying whether others believe in you. You walk like a warrior who knows rejection and judgment won't break him. And here's the paradox: when you no longer need others to believe in you, they naturally start to. Because real confidence doesn't need to prove itself, it simply shows up. So let me end this with a challenge. Next time you look in the mirror, ask yourself, do I dare believe in myself, even if the whole world doubts me? If the answer is yes, then you've already become the kind of man not just women, but life itself will want to follow. Secret number 5, be decisive. Have you ever gone out with friends and spent 20 minutes just trying to decide where to eat? One person says, I don't care. Anywhere's fine. Another says, as long as it's not too far. And the group just goes in circles until finally someone steps up and says, we're getting pizza. It's good and it's close. Instantly, everyone sighs in relief. Okay, let's go. That's the power of decisiveness. It doesn't just save time, it builds trust. And in relationships, this is even more true. Women don't want to be with a man whose go-to answer is always, I don't know, whatever you want. It might sound polite, even romantic, but in reality, it feels like a burden. The Stoics understood that a solid life is built on firm decisions. Not every decision will be right, but the courage to choose and to take responsibility, that's real strengths. I remember one night in New York, a student of mine admitted that he always froze on dates. When a woman asked him, where do you want to go for a drink? His usual answer was, wherever you want. He thought he was being considerate, but after a few times, she finally said, honestly, you feel passionless. I want to be with a man who knows what he wants. Harsh, right, but true. A lack of decisiveness signals a lack of direction. And deep down, women are wired to look for leadership not because they're weak, but because being around a man who can make choices makes them feel secure. A Stoic man isn't afraid of being wrong. He knows mistakes are part of growth. Epictetus said, it's not what happens that disturbs us, but how we interpret it. Meaning, even if you choose wrong, you learn and you move forward. But if you never choose, you've already lost. I always tell young men, start small. Next time a woman asks you, what should we eat? Don't circle around it. Say directly, I know a great sushi place, let's go. If she doesn't like it, she'll say so, and you can adjust. But at least you showed leadership. That simple act makes you more attractive because it shows you know what you want and you're not afraid to express it. Let me share something personal. Years ago, I faced a tough choice: stay in a safe, stable job or leave it to pursue my passion for philosophy. My family told me, don't risk it. Stay where it's safe. But deep down, I knew my values pointed elsewhere. I chose to leave, and that decision changed my entire life. If I had stayed stuck in hesitation, I wouldn't be here today, sharing Stoic wisdom with you. You see, decisiveness isn't just for dating, it's a principle of life. A decisive man earns respect not only from women, but from everyone around him. When you make decisions, you show the world that you take responsibility for your life. Think about the last time you hesitated too long. What did it cost you? Maybe you liked a woman but never told her, and someone else won her heart. Maybe you had a chance at a new job, but you waited too long and the opportunity slipped away. That's the price of indecision. The Stoics teach us act on what's in your control, and don't let fear paralyze you. Decisiveness means knowing you can't control the outcome perfectly, but choosing action over standing still. Imagine you're on a train. If you never choose a stop, you'll be carried somewhere you don't want to go. But if you get off, even if it's not the perfect station, you're in control of your journey. Women notice this. They feel it when they're around a decisive man. They feel safe, they feel guided, and deep down, they crave that more than sweet words or empty promises. So next time you face a choice, even a small one, don't run from it. Decide. Remember, it's not about being right every time. It's about having the courage to choose and the strength to own that choice. I'll leave you with this question. Do you want to be the man women look at and ask, "What do you think?" and actually trust your answer? Or do you want to be the man who always says, "I don't know," and slowly fades into the background? The answer lies in your decisiveness. Secret number 6, the art of asking for favors. Have you ever noticed something strange? When someone does you a small favor, they often end up feeling closer to you. It sounds backwards, right? But psychology calls it the Benjamin Franklin effect. We tend to like the people we ourselves have helped, and this works powerfully in relationships, even in love. I remember a young man once asked me, "How can I make her feel more connected to me? I've bought gifts, I've driven her places, I've done everything, but she still feels distant." So I asked him, "Have you ever asked her to do something for you?" He looked shocked. Ask her, "Why would I do that? I'm supposed to give, not ask." And that right there was his mistake. A Stoic understands that a real relationship is give and take, not just one way. When you give someone the chance to contribute to your life, you're sending a powerful message. I trust you. I value your presence and your opinion. But here's the key: asking for favors doesn't mean being needy or dumping responsibility on her. It's about small, genuine requests, just enough to create connection without becoming a burden. For example, if she loves reading, you could ask, "I'm looking for a good book to read this weekend. Do you have a recommendation?" It's simple, but it gives her a chance to share something meaningful. Or if you're shopping for a shirt, you could text, "I'm deciding between blue or gray. Which do you think suits me better?" These small moments create a subtle bond because she gets to be part of your world. Picture this. You're at a coffee shop with her. Instead of trying to impress her with endless stories, you could casually ask, "I'm planning a short trip but haven't picked the destination yet. If it were you, would you choose the mountains or the beach?" That one question not only sparks an interesting conversation, but also shows you value her perspective. Women aren't drawn to a man who pretends to be all-powerful. They're drawn to a man confident enough to let others play a role in his life. Subtle requests show that you're not afraid to reveal small needs and that you still know your worth. That's real strength. The Stoics would say, true independence isn't never needing anyone. True independence is knowing when to lean on others without losing yourself. The secret is sincerity. Don't fake it. If you ask her opinion, genuinely care about the answer. If she recommends a book, read it and later share what you thought. That follow-up shows her that her opinion carries weight in your life. I once saw a friend do this so naturally. He often asked his girlfriend for little things, choosing music for their road trip, suggesting a recipe to cook together, even helping him pick a birthday gift for his sister. Each time, she felt included in his world, not just watching from the sidelines. And their relationship grew stronger, not because of grand gestures, but because of these simple shared moments. You can try this today. Pick something small and ask a woman you're interested in for her input. But don't overdo it. If you ask for something every single day, it becomes annoying. The magic is in the balance enough to connect, not so much that you become a burden. So ask yourself, have you ever given a woman the chance to help you instead of always proving you can do everything alone? If not, you've missed a powerful opportunity for real connection. Think about it this way. When a woman invests her time, her thoughts, or even a tiny effort into you, even just a suggestion, she starts to feel part of your story. And once she has a part in your story, she'll want to keep playing it. A Stoic knows love isn't a performance where you prove your worth. It's harmony. And sometimes, the best way to create harmony is to let her add her own note to your song. So don't be afraid to ask. Do it with sincerity. Do it with balance. Because when you do, you not only build a deeper connection, you show the quiet confidence of a man who doesn't need to pretend to be perfect, but is wise enough to know that even the smallest help can build the strongest bonds. And secret number 7, deep conversations. Have you ever been on a date where the entire conversation was just about work, food, or the weather? You nod. She nods. Both of you smile politely. But when you part ways, neither of you feels excited to text again. That's because shallow conversations are like drinking plain water. Sure, they quench the thirst for a moment, but they leave no flavor behind. The Stoics understood that true connection doesn't come from surface-level questions. It comes from conversations that touch the soul. When you're willing to share your dreams, your fears, or the struggles you're wrestling with inside, you create a space of authenticity, and that's where real attraction is born. I saw this once in one of my classes. A student who almost never spoke suddenly shared during a group discussion. I used to be terrified of failure, but after losing everything once, I learned not to let fear control me. The room went silent. Then slowly, others began to share their own stories, all because one person had the courage to be real. That kind of vulnerability is far more magnetic than any flashy introduction. Dating works the same way. A woman might get dozens of "what are you doing" texts every day. But what sticks in her heart is when a man looks her in the eyes and asks, "What's the thing you fear most in life?" Or, "What makes you wake up in the morning and feel like life is worth living?" Those aren't interrogations, they're invitations. They show you want to understand her, not just her smile, not just her appearance, but her inner world. The Stoics remind us to truly know ourselves, we must face the harder questions. And to know others, we must be brave enough to go deeper too. Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we may listen more than we speak." That doesn't mean staying silent. It means when she opens up, you actually listen, not interrupting, not just waiting for your turn to talk. Imagine this. You're sitting in a quiet coffee shop with her. Instead of repeating boring questions, you gently ask, "I've always been curious, what's a dream you've never told anyone before?" She might be surprised at first, but if you listen with sincerity, she'll feel that you don't just see her face, you're reaching for her soul. And once a woman feels truly seen, she won't easily walk away. I have a close friend who's brilliant at dating. His secret isn't good looks or constant jokes. It's this: he always finds a way to guide conversations deeper. He might start with a funny story, then move into, "So what made you choose your career? Did you ever dream of doing something else?" And slowly, he uncovers layers of her personality no one else has touched. That's why women always wanted to see him again, not because of fancy dinners, but because of the feeling of being understood. Ask yourself this in your recent conversations. Were you truly connecting, or just talking to fill the time? If you realize you often stop at the surface, this is your chance to change. A Stoic man doesn't fear silence in conversation. He knows that sometimes, after a deep question, there needs to be a pause. And in that pause, connection grows. You don't need to fill every second with chatter. You just need to be present, genuine, and make her feel safe to open up. Women are often drawn to men who make them feel special, and nothing makes a woman feel more special than someone who truly wants to hear her deepest story. When you create that space, you don't just attract her, you make her choose to come back, because that kind of experience is rare. So let me end this part with a reminder: the next time you talk to a woman, stop before you send the usual "did you eat yet" text. Instead, ask something deeper, something that touches her soul. And when she answers, listen with your whole heart, because it's in those deep conversations that real connection is born. And that's the moment you stop being just another guy and become the man she will never forget. Secret number 8, clear communication. Have you ever been in this situation? You text a woman, "I'm free tonight. Do you want to do something?" But what you're really hoping is that she'll say, "Let's get dinner together." Then she replies, "I'm a little tired. I think I'll stay home." And suddenly you feel disappointed, maybe even frustrated because she didn't magically read your mind. That's the tragedy of unclear communication. The Stoics teach us that clarity is the foundation of healthy relationships. When you're vague, when you hide your real desires, you're secretly hoping others will guess what's inside your head. And when they don't, you end up hurt. But that disappointment, at the end of the day, it's on you. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Speak as a man should, clearly, simply, and honestly." Even 2,000 years ago, the philosophers knew that vague words cause endless suffering. And in love, this truth becomes even more obvious. I had a friend who struggled with this. Instead of saying directly, "I don't think we're a good match," he would slowly pull away shorter texts, longer silences, eventually disappearing altogether. He thought he was being gentle, but in reality, he left a deeper scar. The woman had no idea what went wrong. She blamed herself, and in the end, she felt betrayed. A direct, honest statement might have hurt in the moment, but at least it would have been clear and freeing for both. Clear communication doesn't mean being harsh. It means saying what you want, what you feel, calmly and respectfully. If you want to take her to dinner, say, "I'd like to invite you to dinner Friday night. How does that sound?" If something makes you uncomfortable, say, "This situation worries me a little. Can we talk about it?" You see, the key isn't how much you say, it's how clearly you say it. Once, at a seminar, I asked couples who'd been married for more than 20 years, "What's the secret to lasting love?" One man stood up and said, "We don't guess each other's thoughts. I tell her exactly what I need. She does the same. And we listen." Simple as that. Yet it's something most people overlook. The Stoics believed honesty starts with yourself. If you're unclear about what you want, you'll never be clear with others. That's why knowing your values and your needs is step 1. A man who's foggy about his own direction will always speak vaguely, but a man who knows his worth and what he stands for communicates like a lighthouse, bright, direct, steady. Think back. When was the last time you stayed silent instead of saying what you really felt? Was it because you feared rejection, feared conflict, feared being misunderstood? And did silence make things better or worse? In dating, women are especially drawn to men who communicate clearly. When you say what you mean, you give them a sense of safety because they don't have to guess, don't have to decode. And when they feel safe, trust follows. A Stoic man doesn't use words to manipulate. He uses words to connect. That's the difference. You're not speaking to get a hidden outcome, you're speaking to build understanding. I remember a time I had to make a hard call at work. Instead of staying quiet, I told my team, "I think we're heading in the wrong direction. What I'm about to say may be difficult to hear, but I'd like us to discuss it and find a better way forward." The reaction wasn't negative. In fact, they respected the honesty, and we improved together. Love works the same way. Clarity doesn't make you weak, it makes you trustworthy. So next time you want something, don't hint. Say it. When you disagree, say it. When you love, say it. When you're hurt, share it. That's not weakness. That's the strength of a man who knows that silence and vagueness only create confusion. Let me leave you with this. Do you want to be the kind of man women are forced to guess every day, or the kind of man who gives them peace because they always know where you stand? The answer lies in your communication, vague or clear. All right, number 9, practice personal discipline. Here's a truth most people don't want to admit. Freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you feel like. Real freedom comes from having the discipline to control yourself. The Stoics understood this discipline is freedom, and a disciplined man radiates a stability that women can't ignore. Think about it. A man who sleeps until noon, eats whatever he wants, skips workouts when he's tired, and postpones work when he feels bored. He looks free on the outside. But in reality, he's a slave to laziness, to impulse, to fear. Now compare him to the man who wakes up early, sticks to his training, studies every day, and stays consistent with his goals. At first, he may seem less free, but he's the one who's truly free. Why? Because he's the one in control. He rules himself instead of being ruled by whims. I remember one of my students, a young man who once told me, "I want a girlfriend, but I don't have anything attractive about me." So I asked him, "What does your day look like?" He admitted staying up late playing video games, sleeping in, doing the bare minimum at work. No exercise at all. I didn't give him tricks or lines to use. I told him one thing: start with discipline. Go to bed early. Wake up early. Train your body. Read. Keep promises to yourself. 6 months later, he came back as a completely different person. Same guy, but his eyes were sharper, his voice more steady, and women were noticing him, not because he'd had some radical makeover, but because discipline had changed his presence. The Stoics believed every day is an exercise in training. Epictetus once said, "No man becomes great without discipline. Want strength, train your body. Want wisdom, discipline your mind through study and reflection. Want peace, discipline your emotions so that little things don't throw you off balance." So let me ask you, what habits are controlling you right now? Is it the phone you pick up hundreds of times a day? The late nights wasted scrolling on social media? The constant procrastination where you keep saying, "I'll do it tomorrow"? If so, it's time to take back control with discipline. And don't confuse discipline with harsh restriction. Discipline is the most liberating choice you can give yourself. A disciplined man doesn't need to brag. You see it in his life: a healthy body, a clear mind, words that carry weight, and work that gets done. Women feel that energy immediately. Imagine you're dating. She sees that you actually keep promises to yourself. You say you go to the gym, and you really go. You say you're pursuing a project, and she sees you staying consistent with it. That creates attraction far stronger than any gift you could buy. Because deep down, women are drawn to men who lead themselves first. If you can't control yourself, how can you be a foundation for someone else? I'll share from my own life. There are days I feel tired too. Days I want to break my own routines. But then I remember Seneca's words: "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Most of the pain is in the thought of doing it. Once I push past that resistance and take action, I always find freedom, freedom from regret, freedom from guilt. And that's the kind of freedom worth chasing. So ask yourself, are you living with discipline, or are you letting bad habits and emotions run your life? If you haven't started yet, don't wait. Start small. Wake up 30 minutes earlier. Read 10 pages a day. Exercise for 15 minutes. Write down 3 important tasks and finish them. Those small steps stack into massive confidence. Women aren't looking for a perfect man. They're looking for a reliable man, a man who proves every day through his actions that he has the strength to manage his own life. Discipline is the clearest proof of that. And here's the final reminder: when you practice personal discipline, you don't just attract women, you build a life you respect. And once you respect yourself, the world will respect you too. Secret number 10, finding joy in solitude. Have you ever been afraid of being alone? That feeling when no one's texting you, no one's inviting you out, and the room feels too quiet, just you and your own thoughts. For many, it feels unbearable. They turn on the TV, blast music, scroll social media for hours, anything to escape the silence. But the Stoics saw solitude differently. Solitude isn't a punishment, it's an opportunity. Epictetus once said, "If you want to be free, learn to depend on no one else." And that freedom begins with learning to enjoy your own company. A Stoic man doesn't fear sitting in silence because he knows that in stillness he finds himself. I remember a young man once confided to me that he couldn't stand being alone. Every weekend, he needed someone, friends, a girlfriend, even a casual date, just to avoid that empty feeling. He told me, "I'm afraid of the emptiness." I told him, "You're not afraid of being alone. You're afraid of facing yourself." 6 months later, he started practicing solitude journaling, walking by himself, sitting in silence. And what happened? The fear disappeared. In its place came strength. Because when you can enjoy life even in solitude, you become unshakable. Here's the truth: women don't want a man who clings to them just to fill a void. They want a man who's already whole inside, so that when he enters a relationship, he's sharing joy, not searching for rescue. Solitude is where you train that. Think about it. When was the last time you spent an entire day just with yourself? No social media, no friends, no craving attention, just you, a book, a cup of coffee, maybe a long walk. If it's been a while, you might have forgotten how to truly connect with yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote his Meditations, his deepest reflections in solitude, and those writings became one of the greatest works of philosophy in history. Solitude didn't destroy him, it revealed his inner voice. Now imagine this: you're on a date, and she asks, "What do you like to do in your free time?" You answer, "I enjoy spending time alone reading, writing, working on personal projects." Do you think that sounds boring? No. It shows independence. It shows depth. And she'll sense instantly that you're not an empty shell needing her to feel complete. That independence is deeply attractive. The Stoics knew that solitude is a training ground. It's where you can ask yourself, am I living by my values? Am I on the right path? What do I need to improve? These questions don't get answered in the noise of crowds. They require silence. I've experienced this myself. There was a time when I also feared being alone, but then I began to change. I started writing early in the mornings, no phone, no email. At first, it felt empty. But over time, that silence became powerful. Solitude stopped being a void and became a sanctuary, a place where I recharged, where my mind grew clear. Even when I stepped back into the world, that calm stayed with me. So let me ask you, Can you be happy by yourself, or do you need someone else beside you just to feel valuable? Your answer shapes the way others see you. If you're content in solitude, women will sense you as a fortress strong, steady, untouchable. If you tremble when you're alone, you'll radiate dependence, and nothing drains attraction faster than that. The Stoics remind us the best relationships aren't two halves trying to complete each other. They're two whole people choosing to share their fullness. And to become whole, you must first learn how to be happy in solitude. So next time the room feels too quiet, don't rush to drown it out. Sit down, breathe, write a few thoughts, take a walk, listen to your heartbeat, because it's in those empty moments that you'll discover your real strength. Here's the thought I want to leave you with. The man who enjoys solitude is the freest man of all. He isn't dependent. He isn't afraid, and that makes him magnetic. A woman will sense it right away. This man already has his own world, and if I get to step into it, that's an honor. Secret number 11, master your emotions. Have you ever lost your cool just because a text didn't get answered right away? At minute 5, you start to worry. By minute 30, you're irritated. By the 1 hour mark, your heart's racing and your mind's building up dramatic scenarios. And when she finally replies, "Sorry, I was busy," you regret the storm you created in your head. This is where so many men fail, letting emotions control them, instead of controlling their emotions. The Stoics taught that true freedom isn't doing whatever you feel, it's not being ruled by your feelings. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, it is not the thing itself that troubles you, but your judgment about it." Think about it. What happens if you lose control every time you face a small challenge? A cold look, a careless comment, a late reply. Each of these can turn you into a puppet, pulled by invisible strings, and women pick up on that instantly. Nothing destroys respect faster than a man who can't manage his emotions. I once had a student, brilliant but hot-tempered. If his girlfriend took too long to text back, he would call her repeatedly, demand answers, even sulk in anger. The result, she didn't feel safe with him. She told him, "You may love me a lot, but I can't live with someone who could explode at any moment." That's the price you pay when you can't govern yourself. On the other hand, I've also seen men who command respect simply through their calm. I remember one meeting where arguments got heated. Voices rose. Chaos filled the room. One man stayed silent, breathing steadily, listening. When he finally spoke calm, short, clear, the whole room quieted. That's the power of composure. And in relationships, that power is more attractive than any sweet promise. Because here's the truth, women want to feel safe. They want to know that no matter how messy the outside world gets, when they're with you, they're grounded. And that safety doesn't come from money or from flattery, it comes from emotional stability. Mastering your emotions doesn't mean becoming a cold robot. It means knowing when to respond, when to stay silent, and when to let go. When anger rises, you pause, breathe, and then reply. When anxiety creeps in, you ask yourself, will this matter a week or a month from now? Most of the time, the answer is no. The Stoics had a simple rule: pause. When rage builds, stop. Take a deep breath before you act. One calm response is worth more than 100 impulsive reactions. Imagine this in dating. She teases you, or maybe she goes silent just to test you. If you panic, argue, or lose your balance, you lose. But if you smile, stay calm, maybe even respond with confident silence, you win. Why? Because you've just proven your emotions aren't in her control. Think back. When was the last time you blew up emotionally? Did it help? Or did it only make things worse? Now imagine how different it could have been if you had stayed calm. The magnetism of a stoic man isn't in his flawless appearance. It's in the calm energy he carries. Women feel it immediately. It's like walking into a chaotic room and seeing one man standing steady, eyes firm, breath even. You're naturally drawn to him because he's the eye of the storm. So next time anger rises or anxiety grabs hold of you, ask yourself, am I letting my emotions control me, or am I the one in control? That answer decides whether you're a victim of your feelings or the master of your life. And here's what you need to know. Women respect this stability more than any promise. Promises can change. Calm is permanent. And when you master your emotions, you don't just attract women, you earn the respect of everyone around you. Secret number 12. Patience is power. Have you noticed how, in today's world, everyone wants everything instantly? Messages must be answered right away. Packages must arrive the same day. And in love, many men want the same speed. They want her to like them instantly. They want the relationship to move fast after just a few dates. They want commitments after a couple of weeks. But the Stoics knew this everything truly valuable takes time, and patience is power. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, time is like a river. Let things flow at their natural pace. The same applies to relationships. If you rush, you create pressure. But if you slow down, letting things develop at their own rhythm, you create space for attraction to grow naturally. I remember a young man who came to me for advice. He had met a woman he really liked, and within the first week, he was flooding her with texts, constant calls, gifts, even talking about their future together. He thought he was showing commitment. The result, she pulled away. He didn't understand why. I told him, it's not that you're unattractive, it's that you're impatient. You never gave her the chance to actually long for you. Because here's the truth, women, like anyone else, need time for feelings to ripen. If you push, you rob them of the chance to miss you, to wonder about you, to step towards you on their own. But when you're patient, you send a powerful message. I don't need everything right now. I trust time. I'm strong enough to wait. And that message radiates deep confidence. The Stoics practice patience not only in love, but in every aspect of life. In training, they knew strength doesn't come after a week. It comes after months of persistence. In learning, wisdom doesn't come from one sleepless night, but from years of study. In relationships, true intimacy grows not from a spark of rush, but from steady cultivation. Picture planting a seed. If you dig it up every day to see if it's growing, you'll kill it. But if you water it, tend to it, and trust the natural process, one day it sprouts into a tree. Love works the same way. It needs room to grow, and patience is the fertile soil that nourishes it. Ask yourself, how many opportunities have you ruined because of impatience? How many times have you texted too much, called too soon, or pushed a relationship faster than it was ready to go? If you're honest, you'll realize rushing never creates lasting results. A Stoic man understands that patience isn't passive waiting, it's active waiting. It means that while you give the relationship time, you keep living your own life. You train, you work, you learn, you pursue your passions. You're not sitting by the phone counting minutes. You're building yourself while letting the bond grow at its natural pace. I think of a couple I know. The man really liked her from the start, but instead of overwhelming her, he kept things steady. They met once a week, just a few hours at a time. Each meeting left a deep impression. After 6 months, they were tightly bonded. Later, she told me, it was his patience that won me over. He didn't rush. He didn't pressure. He gave me time to walk into his life on my own. That's the thing. Patience isn't weakness. Patience is supreme confidence. Only strong men can wait without forcing, can trust without needing control. And that kind of patience is magnetic. So next time you feel the urge to rush, remember this: the most powerful attraction takes time to bloom. Don't pick the fruit before it's ripe. Let her miss you. Let her wonder. Let her choose to step toward you. And while you wait, keep becoming the best version of yourself. When you master patience, you don't just win in love, you win yourself. And once you conquer yourself, the whole world begins to lean in your direction. So, here we are. We've walked together through the 12 core Stoic principles that can transform you into the kind of man who doesn't chase because others naturally choose to come to him. From mastering your emotions, keeping a sense of mystery, practicing patience, to living by your values. These aren't dating tricks. They are the path to becoming the strongest version of yourself. Remember this: women may be drawn to looks, money, or sweet words for a moment, but what makes them stay is your stability, your self-control, and your depth. And those qualities don't appear overnight. They're built through discipline, through training, through the way you live each moment. When you practice these principles, something amazing happens. You stop worrying about how to hold on to someone, because the people who truly deserve you will come to you on their own. You'll become a magnet for respect, admiration, and genuine love. So now, let me ask you, are you ready to step into this journey? Are you willing to let go of old habits, to discipline yourself, to be patient, to live true to your values so you can become a true Stoic man? If your answer is yes, then this is just the beginning. There are so many more lessons, so many deeper perspectives from Stoic philosophy that I'll be sharing with you in the videos to come. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button right now. Join our community, a community of men who don't chase the crowd, but train themselves to master their own lives. And don't forget to hit the little bell so you never miss a single lesson that could completely change the way you live, love, and lead your life. Thank you for staying with me all the way to the end. And remember this: the world out there may be chaotic, but you always have the power to stay calm, strong, and steady inside. Live like a Stoic and you'll see, not just women, but life itself will begin to chase you.